US President Donald Trump says Ukraine's ceasefire talks with Russia's President Vladimir Putin will involve land and power plants.
The United States carried out new airstrikes on Yemen after both the Trump administration and the Iran-backed Houthis vowed escalation over the weekend.
A Peruvian farmer took German energy giant RWE to court for causing global warming, in a case which could set a significant legal precedent.
European leaders offer condolences and assistance to North Macedonia after a nightclub fire claimed the lives of 59 people and injured 155 more.
US President Donald Trump says he will discuss ending the war in Ukraine with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin on Tuesday. His comments come after Ukraine agreed to a US brokered ceasefire plan last week. Trump said territorial issues and power plants are going to be part of Tuesday's conversation.
By Tuesday, I'll be speaking to President Putin on Tuesday, and a lot of work's been done over the weekend. We want to see if we can bring that war to an end. Maybe we can, maybe we can't, but I think we have a very good chance. And we'll be talking about land, we'll be talking about power plants, because that's a big question.
Press Secretary for Putin confirmed the Russian leader is scheduled to speak with Trump on Tuesday. Last Thursday, Putin said he supported a truce but listed several questions he said still had to be discussed. The diplomatic efforts to secure a ceasefire deal come as Russia and Ukraine traded drone fire over the weekend and into Monday morning.
The United States carried out new airstrikes on Yemen on Monday after both the Trump administration and the Iran-backed Houthis vowed escalation over the weekend. The Houthi-run health ministry said that at least 53 people have been killed since the U.S. began its new wave of strikes against the rebel group on Saturday, including 5 children and 2 women. The Houthis retaliated on Sunday with attacks on the USS Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier and its accompanying warships. The U.S. said its strikes aim to deter the rebels from attacking military and commercial vessels in the Red Sea. The Houthis said last week they would resume targeting Israeli vessels after Israel cut off humanitarian aid to Gaza this month. The U.S. airstrikes were among the most extensive attacks against the Houthis since the war in Gaza began in October of 2023.
A German court began a hearing on a Peruvian farmer's case against major energy company RWE. Saul Luciano Yuja's lawsuit against RWE argues the company's historical greenhouse gas emissions have fueled global warming, accelerating glacial melt above his hometown in Peru. RWE, which has never operated in Peru, denies legal responsibility and says climate change is an issue caused by many contributors.
La realidad es que si el derretimiento de los glaciares, sí, lamentablemente las montañas están sufriendo y eso tiene sus consecuencias. Por eso estoy aquí, ¿no?, pidiendo justicia climática.
Experts say the case could set a significant precedent in the fight to hold major polluters accountable for climate change.
Bis heute sind die Emissionen von RWE so groß wie die ganzer Länder, unter anderem die der Niederlande und Belgien. Und deswegen haben wir einen sehr großen Emittenten hier in Anspruch genommen und es muss auch nicht der letzte sein, wenn wir den Fall hoffentlich Ende nächsten Jahres abschließen. Denn das ist das, was ich hoffe. Ich hoffe, dass wir hier heute mit einer klaren Beweislage rausgehen und dann die nächste Frage behandeln können, also Klimawandel. Die Tatsache also, dass RWE dazu beigetragen hat, dass das konkrete Risiko vor Ort da ist, dann können wir auch andere Emittenten in Anspruch nehmen.
However, RWE argues the precedent being set is instead dangerous by holding individual emitters accountable for global climate change. The company insists climate solutions should be addressed through state and international policies, not the courts.
Ex-President of Georgia, Mikhail Saakashvili, has been sentenced to a further 4.5 years in prison, bringing his total sentence up to 12 years and 6 months. On Monday, the court sentenced him on charges of illegally crossing Georgia's border when returning from exile in Ukraine in 2021, when he was immediately arrested. Saakashvili, who served as Georgia's president from 2004 to 2013, had previously been sentenced on charges of abuse of power and embezzlement that opposition parties have labelled as politically motivated. I am being judged for daring and managing to transform Georgia into a successful state, for defeating corruption, for striving for the people and not for my own pocket, he explained on a video conference call in court on Monday. In 2003, Saakashvili led the so-called Rose Revolution protests. In office, he reorientated Georgia towards the west and embarked on an ambitious public sector reform. But in 2012, his United National Movement party lost the election to the Georgian Dream Party, which is currently in power and has been accused of tightening its grip on democratic freedoms while steering the country away from the EU membership and tilting towards Russia.
The French champagne industry is bracing itself for a major blow after US President Donald Trump threatened on Thursday to slap tariffs of up to 200% on European alcohol if the EU's new tariffs on bourbon are not lifted. The US is France's top client when it comes to champagne exports, causing panic among winemakers of an already weakened sector. Champagne sales have been sinking for more than 2 years now, as inflation-wary consumers, both in France and abroad, cut back due to rising prices. A trend this Parisian wine shop owner has definitely noticed.
Je vends du champagne, mais depuis 2 ans, les prix ont beaucoup augmenté. Depuis 2-3 ans, les prix augmentent régulièrement et du coup, mes clients s'en détournent.
Instead, her clients turn to other bubbly alternatives, like a sparkling Vouvray wine that she sells for approximately 10 euros.
Effectivement, c'est ma plus grosse vente. Évidemment, et comme par hasard, c'est un petit prix.
Other more affordable alternatives are threatening the champagne sector internationally. It's a much-needed wake-up call for the industry, according to an expert.
Il faut accepter le fait que Champagne, qui a vécu sur une forme de monopole pendant plusieurs décennies, ne soit plus aujourd'hui en situation de monopole, que ce soit sur le marché français avec la montée en puissance des créments, d'une part, ou sur les marchés internationaux avec à la fois les créments, bien sûr, mais aussi le cava et le prosecco qui gagnent des parts de marché et qui aujourd'hui soient mis en situation de concurrence avec le champagne, alors qu'avant, on estimait que c'était 2 produits finalement différents.
For the moment, Europe and France seem unwilling to back down to Trump's threats. The French Federation of Wine and Spirits Exporters, on the other hand, said that they're fed up with being systematically sacrificed in the wake of the trade war.
Parents of teenage victims who died in a nightclub fire in North Macedonia gathered outside a hospital to prevent coroners from taking away the bodies of their children. A massive fire tore through an overcrowded club in Kojani, killing 59 people and injuring 155 others. They yelled and shouted at officials, demanding explanations for the negligence that led to the death of their loved ones. The tragic fire drew messages of support from around the world. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen expressed her condolences to the victims and their relatives in a post on X. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky wished a speedy recovery to those wounded. Pope Francis, who's been hospitalized for more than a month for double pneumonia, also offered his profound condolences. Skopje says it had accepted offers of assistance from Bulgaria, Greece, Serbia, and Turkey to send patients with life-threatening injuries for treatment. But for many of those who survived, the wounds cannot be treated.
Някои овеците осъдители мислят дека има негде решетки да излезат, ама там са се задушили. Някои са останали от диското, не са можели да ги извлечат. Аз излегнах некакой панав по скалите и сите преко мене пройдела, сите ме прегазија и аз некако едва ја останав жива, едва и дишав и се издеков на краја, ама сестра изгубив.
A Officials say the club was carrying more than double its maximum occupancy of 250 at the time of the fire. 15 people were detained to investigate possible corruption and bribery after it was discovered the venue was operating without a proper license. A week of national mourning was declared in the country to honor the victims.
More than 250 Venezuelans have been deported by the United States and sent to El Salvador, where they were transferred to a maximum security prison. Salvadoran President and U.S. Secretary of State confirmed the deportations on Sunday, despite a judge's order blocking the move. The Trump administration accused them of being members of the Tren de Aguirre criminal gang, invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to deport them.
Yo la verdad no sé dónde estamos, como no se podía ver nada. Cuando nos dejaron en el lugar, cuando ya estamos así que miramos, está en una pared. Yo en medio volteo así para atrás, pero está otra pared grandísima con púa y todo eso, y yo no se ve nada. Y ahí de una vez nos metieron, ya era pura puerta. Cuando yo llego así a bajar la cabeza, que veo así una alfombra, dice Guantánamo.
The Trump administration has not identified the migrants deported or provided any evidence they are members of the Tren de Aragua or that they committed any crimes in the U.S. The Alien Enemies Act has been used only 3 times in U.S. history.